Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Military Chessboard channel. In these tense moments, we bring you exclusive and shocking information about the recent harrowing attacks in Crimea. The latest satellite images provided by Ukraine unveil an astonishing scene: a Russian building, now a remnant of destruction, with large holes piercing its walls. In total, there are 7 holes, indicators of the attack here. Some buildings could not withstand the damage, and a few shots missed their targets, yet the aftermath is still catastrophic. The Ukrainian intelligence agency has officially confirmed a powerful and precise strike at the Saki airport, a strategic center of the enemy. Satellite imagery of the airport shows a scene of devastation, with enemy radar stations apparently wiped off the map. The Ukrainian Intelligence Directorate has confirmed a successful attack on the Saki airport, and the agency has released satellite images of the airport. Reports suggest that enemy radar stations were also destroyed there. Additionally, the main intelligence directorate has liquidated ammunition depots of the occupying forces near the village of Krishino. Earlier, we had confirmation of Ukraine's attack on the Crimean Peninsula, namely Yevpatoria, Saki, Zankoy, and Sevastopol were attacked over 2 consecutive days. According to reports, the main military headquarters of the Russian army is located at the Saki airport, a location with which we're already familiar. It's one of the main bases of the Russian Federation in Crimea, and let me show you some satellite images. As you can see, there are several holes in the roofs of these 3 buildings, and there are also shell casings nearby. This incident undoubtedly occurred, as confirmed by the Russian side as well. Rumors suggest that the Chief of General Staff of the Russian military, Valery Gerasimov, was in one of these buildings, meaning he was not in Sevastopol, but at the Saki airbase. Again, there's no definitive confirmation of his presence there and whether he was injured by the shelling. However, today we've not seen General Gerasimov appear in the press conference or any media sources. Clearly, the Ukrainian military is focusing on the Crimean Peninsula, and our military commanders have stated that this is a part of a major campaign in Crimea. Indeed, it's an intriguing and noteworthy development, opening up new expectations about the next moves in this conflict. Alright, it seems that Russia has initiated another attack on Krinky. This time, they're using a number of tanks, which is typical occurrence with the Russian advancing forces. Here you can witness a massive explosion of a Russian tank near Krinky. Russia continues to lose their modern BTRs, this one being the BTR-82, which I believe is equipped with modern weaponry and additional protective armor. From the open hatches, it seems that the Russian crew may have evacuated this BTR, but perhaps not all of them. This is Krinky, and Russia has only one route to advance with their forces. Then they enter this forested area, but even before reaching there, they're completely trapped and only a number of their remaining infantry forces usually proceed into these forests to combat the Ukrainian forces. With all of Russia's efforts, they continue to face failure and difficulties in Krinky, making it a potentially advantageous scenario for Ukraine in maintaining this bridgehead. Some Western media sources suggest that Ukraine's move to Krinky was a mistake, as Russia used heavy artillery and missiles to target our positions, causing significant losses to the Ukrainian army. However, these journalists mainly speak with soldiers who were wounded or faced hardships at the location and were evacuated to Ukrainian territory. Clearly, they say that Krinka is nothing but hell, and they're right, but so is war in general. For instance, the situation for the Ukrainian army in Avdiivka is largely similar to that in Krinka, and now it's even better since Russia no longer uses missiles there due to the loss of 3 or even 4 Su-34 aircraft, making them hesitant to use them again. I've shared sentiments from soldiers in the drone unit deployed near Krinky. They're actively involved in destroying Russian convoys. He mentioned that this bridgehead area is crucial for Ukraine and is not a futile operation, clearly because it causes significant disruption to the Russian military. The Russian army is forced to send reinforcements to protect the area and has also lost many units. Therefore, when reading mainstream news articles, it's important to read and research thoroughly, as the information in these articles can often be biased and dependent on the background of the journalist who wrote it. For example, at the New York Times, we know there are some authors who are Russian or have lived in Russia, and sometimes their information is not entirely accurate. Moving on, Ukrainian intelligence reports that their forces have targeted two Russian Pantsir S-1 air defense systems on Russian territory. Russia deployed these systems in the Belgorod province, and it appears that Ukraine might be using something similar to Lancet drones for these operations. The targets are marked in yellow squares so you can see them on the screen. There's also a notification indicating no GPS signal, meaning that no GPS signal is available, suggesting that the drones might be using an inertial reference system for navigation. This is a significant achievement for the Ukrainian military in targeting Russian air defenses in Belgorod, indicating that more drones could be heading to Belgorod to target the military infrastructure of the Russian Federation. Russia has modernized the Pantsir S-1 air defense system, mounting it on a tank chassis, and it's now being produced with these new modifications. And the differences include better off-road mobility, obviously a larger listening system, and improved crew protection. But all the radar and missile equipment remain highly vulnerable to UAV drone attacks. According to British intelligence, the downing of three Russian Su-34s in the south on December 22nd disrupted the offensive operations of the occupying forces on the Ukrainian bridgehead at the left bank in the Kherson region. Unfortunately, in recent days, Russia has intensified its tactical airstrikes around the bridgehead, though at a lower intensity than before. British experts believe that the lack of air support has likely led to the inability of the Russian 18th Combined Armed Army to secure the bridgehead. The Wall Street Journal reports that Russia is currently firing 10,000 artillery shells compared to Ukraine's mere 2,000. Yes, that's correct. CNN writes about the reality that Russia currently has a 5 to 7 times advantage in artillery as of mid December. During the summer, it wasn't that Ukraine had an advantage, but there is evidence to suggest that they fired about 8,000 shells compared to Russia's still larger 12,000. However, these estimates can vary, which is normal. Looking at these numbers, it's important not to forget another fact. Specifically, in the first half of the war, Russia was firing an average of 40 to 50,000 shells, with a peak of around 60,000 shells per day during the attack on Severodonetsk. At that time, Ukraine was firing just 5,000 per day. You might say that the current figure of 10,000 shells per day is enormous or a staggering number, yet it's crucial to remember that this number is 4 to 6 times less than 1.5 years ago, and Russia will not be able to increase this number at any time soon. In Ukraine, the current number is less than 2.5 times compared to 1.5 years ago. But if the US improves an aid package, this number could potentially increase, which isn't the case for Russia. It's also worth noting that, according to Estonian intelligence, Russia will be able to maintain the current rate of artillery fire of 10 to 12,000 shells per day only until the end of 2024. After that, there might be a need for reduction. You may have heard a few days ago that Polish protesters began blocking Ukrainian trucks, but today they've ceased blocking one of the main checkpoints due to an agreement with the new Polish government. This is good news for the supply of goods to Ukraine, because at the same time, Romania is also building a new road connection to Ukraine, which will be a highway, another piece of good news for Ukraine, as this will provide an alternative supply route from the European Union, and potentially alerting Hungary and Slovakia as well as Poland. Tonight, Russia attacked several settlements in the Pokromsk district, located in eastern Ukraine. Unfortunately, there were civilian casualties, including 11 people, of which 5 were children. Russian officials constantly proclaim their ideals of peace and assert that their goal is to protect the Russian-speaking community. However, ironically, their actions reflect a completely opposite reality. They continually attack areas where Russian is the predominant language. This contradiction not only casts doubt on their policies and statements, but also amounts to an inhumane act. And in so, it exposes a heartbreaking picture of betrayal against the very people they claim to protect. This bitter irony renders Russia's promises of peace entirely unreliable and unacceptable in the eyes of the international community. Vladimir Putin recently met with some relatives of Russian soldiers who lost their lives in this conflict, and he himself initiated this conflict. He seemed quite pleased with this meeting. Yes, it's a joyful occasion when you lose your loved ones, soldiers who died for no reason, leaving behind no fathers, no husbands, but a happy grandfather. Meanwhile, the real wives of conscripted Russian soldiers are demanding that the government immediately release them from military. For them, it's like a prison, and they even formed a community. The road to justice is the road to home, is their slogan. However, it is noteworthy that they're not against the mobilization itself, they're against unlimited conscription, suggesting that there should be a fixed term of service for the Russian military. This implies that they're not reluctant to send their husbands to fight in Ukraine for some reason, possibly even for profit. But the leader of Russia, Putin, seems fearful about this because he knows his actions are fundamentally wrong. Our video for today comes to an end here. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to support the channel in the future. Thank you as always for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in our upcoming videos.